I have a question for you. How do you discipline a child that just won't listen? Great question, isn't it? Well, I'm Thomas Leota, and I've had the privilege and honor to work with kids literally my whole life. And so I know exactly where you're coming from. You see, I started back when I was in high school, my senior year, I was about 17, and I had a chance to actually coach and teach some Little League baseball. Why? Well, because I played baseball my whole life, and I had two younger brothers that were on a team, and they all try out for baseball, and my mom told me that there was no dads to coach them. Sound familiar? How do you discipline a kid that just won't listen? No dads wanted to volunteer. So that created an opportunity for me to take that role, and I did. So I had a chance to coach Little League baseball. And what I found is I could actually find a way to find out what was important to them, and I never had to discipline them. But moving forward, I was able to go from Little League baseball. I was able to go into a job called Nintendo where I coached over 144,000 kids on how to play video games better. I also had a chance to get into martial arts. And in 1994 is when I earned my first black belt, and I found myself once again in a position to coach, teach, train, or lead kids. And so at this time, I had a chance to coach white belt class. Now, you see, when I came up through martial arts, it was very negative. Hey, we don't do that, or you need to do better, and better yet, having a really good, successful class was not getting whacked with the bamboo stick for doing something wrong. So in 1994, when I earned my black belt and had a chance to coach, I had a moment of clarity right then to, you can't say always yes to kids, because you give them an inch, they take you guessed it, a mile. And if you're always saying no, well, they're just going to do it when you're not in a room or behind your back or ask their peers to show them how to do it. But there was a way right down the middle, and that's the path that I took. So I took a commitment to, when I teach a white belt class, to never do anything, or better yet, do the opposite of anything negative to teach their students. Guide them versus punishment. And that path took me on a road that I had no idea that one day it was going to be a parenting program. And that's the story where I met Bonnie. So during this path, I seen every child underneath the sun come through the program with every label, everything that the parents didn't like, and I had some epiphanies along the way which really made sense. I would have a classroom where all the kids were running around, causing havoc, doing this. However, as I looked in the classroom, how do you discipline ones that don't listen? Well, there was one student that was actually new to sit still or sit at his place and have his right hand a fist and left hand open and put it in his lap and legs crisscross applesauce and back straight. And he was sitting down waiting for class, which is what we practice called self-control. And at that moment, I seen everybody spend all their time with the other kids saying, don't, this kind of thing, because they won't listen. But I came over to his name was Richard. I went, well, look at you, little Richard. Look at you sitting so good, back straight and hands in your lap and breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Look at you. Look who's ready for class today. Had no idea what I was going to see happen, but it was like a miracle. All the other kids in the classroom that were running, jumping, and messing around started to go, huh? And they started to follow where I was giving all my attention to. Because they were looking for attention also. And maybe our kids are just starving for attention. That was the first aha moment that I had of like, focus the energy on what you would like to see versus what you don't like. That could be an inside tip for you. But as the years went on, I started to have more and more kids, and I started seeing anything and everything underneath the sun, from kids that were labeled with this label or this behavior disorder, and kind of why they were bringing them to the class in the first place is to, this boy needs to learn some respect and some discipline and needs to learn some of this stuff. And so as it started to progress, it became an after-school martial art program. There was a licensed daycare center. So we started to expand and do things that were unconventional through this method. But what I started to notice is that when we would go on field trips, and case in point was a boy named Brandon. This boy from first grade, he was in 5th grade when he came. Everybody said, you're going to have troubles with that kid. He'll never listen. And I'm like, well, I take in all the kids. Because what I noticed is that there was a common goal between all of them, was missing something. Nothing wrong with them, as we've been taught to believe. But there was a common goal, and I'll get to that in just a moment. But one of our field trips is we all loaded up and we were going to the library. And the idea was to find something that you like, a book, something to read. And more importantly, let's do the old-fashioned show and tell, right? Find something you like and tell us, what did you like about it? Or what do you want to share that's important to you? And so as we were starting to get on there closer and closer, all of a sudden you start hearing maybe some chaos, that got to discipline these kids and whatnot. And he started acting stronger and wouldn't sit still and started yelling and causing all kinds of chaos of pushing and hitting and throwing things. And everybody was looking to react to his behavior. And I'm like, this is interesting. What's the puzzle here? There's got to be a reason. So as we started getting closer, he started acting out more, and I was like, Brandon, can I ask you a question? And I started inquisitively thinking, what is it about the library that is causing this? Because that's the variable of where we were going. Leave the library, things start getting smoother. Getting closer to the library, acting that way. Well, what's in the library? Books? Call me crazy, but I'm having a feeling that maybe Brandon really doesn't know how to read. And he's acting out in a way to protect himself from being teased, because nobody likes to be teased about something. So the long story short is, we got him tested. He had a 1st grade reading level, and here he is in 5th grade with a track record of misbehavior. So the missing life skill is nobody took the time to authentically teach him how to read. So we did that in our after-school program. We started to sit down and give him the building blocks on how to read. And the idea of when we went back to the library, do you think the behavior actually acted up? You guessed it, and the answer is no. I've got countless stories of seeing the same behavior and pattern, that it always came down to not a disorder, but a missing life skill. And when you can find it and they can learn it, all this so-called misbehavior started to disappear as a common side effect. Now, this started to lead me down this path with having 30 to 50 kids every day. So I can relate when a parent says, I've got 3 kids, 4 kids. It's hectic all day long. I get it. However, when you can learn to guide the behavior versus punish it, it starts to put the child in a place for independence and developing. So we would find we had a game room. Kids love to play games. And so we also have some life skills to learn, like being able to be in a van, being able to change, have a snack, do schoolwork, do your studies, your classroom, and be prepared and be ready to go home in the after-school program. Well, what we did is we found out a way that each time that the kids did any one of these tasks on their own, They earn points. They earn the privilege to have some game time on our Friday fun day. So we had a game room which allowed them to earn time. And see, I started seeing what would happen is parents would come by to pick up their kids and go, I can't get my kid to vacuum. And here's my daughter or my son actually vacuuming for you, and you didn't even ask them. And I'll be like, well, they're earning what they want to do. Well, how did that work? Well, we found out what they wanted. They wanted to be in the game room. We showed them a life skill that they're going to need to learn as they get out of the nest or leave the house when they get older. And they started to learn that they could earn however much game time they wanted. And that was part of the game-changing process. Focus your energy like this. If my attention was a hose, would I water the weeds or the rose? And the rose is the behavior that you would like them to see or demonstrate versus what you don't like. And that's the game changer. So, how do you discipline a child that won't listen to him? You can't. Why would you even attempt to? But when you can guide them versus punish them, that's the magic. And they don't really teach that in traditional daycares or therapy or counseling or anything in the school. It's more dictational oriented, and that's the game changer. So as we fast forward, moving to where I had that chance, and you know Bonnie's story, where we had a chance to meet on the personal development cruise, and I had a chance to come visit her house, and we were working on this project. I had a chance to interact with her kids, and what I really was, if you want to know the truth, is I really liked Bonnie. Boy, what an amazing, dynamic lady she is. And I was like, well, if I could show her the magic of how her kids are so amazing, maybe she'll like me. Truth be known. So, that's why I did what I did. And all of a sudden, she thought I was the neatest thing since sliced bread. It was so simple. I'm like, kids are fun. It's so simple to do this stuff. So that's the win-win of how it manifested. And then the next thing I know, Bonnie's like, this is the most amazing thing in the world I've ever seen. And I believe, because of her dream, is the whole world needs to know that at least this exists, mom and dads, because the I don't know has got to go. And every child has the right to know that they can become a somebody before the age of 12. And that's the cornerstone of this mission. You don't have to believe this is right. You don't have to believe that gravity works all the time either. But it's not going to change the fact that the way we approach the situation will always cause the outcome. And that's the magic. We have the power, moms and dads, to change our approach, change the way that we think, and come up with a different approach, and you will create a whole complete new effect. So with all this being said, we're going to continue our story tomorrow, where Bonnie and I will be back together to give you the end of the story. So until we do meet again, how about we celebrate here's to our parenting success. Cheers. Bye for now.